right, thank you everyone for having us. It's great to be here in our hometown, or at least our home country of Canada, to present in front of all of you guys. So as they mentioned, my name is Tristan Lehari, co-founder and CEO of Tritonwear, where our wearable technology and platform are fundamentally improving the way that athletes train by providing accurate data and actionable feedback. So today what I'm going to run you through is a bit of an intro into the technology for those of you that aren't aware. I'm also going to run you through a bit of a demo so you can kind of see what it would be like to have our technology on deck. And then from there, I'm going to give you a bit of a glimpse at some of the things that we're working on that I think you'll find pretty interesting. So, but to get things started, everything started with us with this fundamental problem within the sport of swimming that it's generally challenging to track athletes, and it's very challenging to track athletes accurately, let alone log all of that data. So this kind of trends through all these different levels. So ultimately, data is very important in the sport, but ultimately, how do we get this accurate data for athletes in all these different cases? So ultimately, how do we get data for an individual group of athletes, ranging from 20 to 30 athletes with one single coach on deck? Taking that a step further, though, how do we now get data for a head coach with multiple groups on a team so that they can make better, more informed decisions for the entire team? And then taking that even to the national federation level, how do you get the information you need as federations to ultimately make more informed decisions and to help support all the teams within your federation? So while these may look like relatively different problems, they all do come from the same root cause of ultimately not having accurate, reliable data in practice that you can get easily. So that's really where we started from. So at Tritonwear, we really made this tracking process simple. So at Tritonwear, we fully automated this process of data collection by providing data in real time to coaches. And at the base of this, all of this starts with the Triton Unit. So the Triton Unit, it's a small device that hooks non-invasively onto the back of a swimmer's goggle strap like this, underneath their cap, to automatically calculate all of their performance metrics based on their motion through the water. So you can see splits, stroke count, stroke rate, breathing count, push-off force, dolphin kicks off the wall, all these different metrics and more, you get automatically calculated every length for every single athlete. This data then gets sent in real time to a coach's tablet for every athlete in the pool simultaneously. So what we're doing there is fully automating that process of data collection for you on deck. So as coaches, you can just really do what you do best, ultimately coaching your athletes and working on stroke mechanics. And we also display the data in a very visual and clear and understandable way so that you can ultimately make very quick decisions without having to dive into tables and tables worth of data. Then once the workout's over, all this data is uploaded onto each athlete's profile to allow for long-term tracking and analytics, really as never before in the sport. So now you can go in and easily compare and analyze test sets and overlay them over time to see not only if athletes are getting better and faster, but ultimately if they're getting more efficient through the water. And now you can actually, even inside of our platform, set goals for your athletes. So you can set your seasonal goals inside of our platform. You can also set longer term goals. So if it's a 4-year goal, you can set that in our platform as well. And we actually pull in automatically all of their competition results. So you can actually track their progress towards those goals, which really helps athletes visualize the progression towards these longer term goals. So they can really go in every day and see, what do I need to do today to hit that goal 4 years from now? And I think that's a huge value to kids these days because they're all very visually oriented nowadays. So now I'm going to give you a bit of an overview from an actual demo standpoint. So what you can see up here is a video of a practice going on up at the top of the screen. And then you can see a virtual tablet below that where you can actually get a glimpse of exactly what our technology is like to have in practice every day. So this is literally copied and pasted code from our app, and you can actually interact with it. So this is our team overview screen. So as athletes are training, you actually have a tile that represents each athlete in the pool at a given time. So this really gives you a snapshot of what's going on in a given time during your training. So really, each tile represents each athlete in the pool, and each tile has a little bit of summary information for each of those athletes. So you can see, if we're looking over at Brent, you can see the big red number here, and that showcases his previous rep time. So then beside that, you can also see what he swam. So you can see the little tiny freestyle icon there. And below that, you can see he swam 100 meters. So you can see he went a 109.1 for the last 100 free that he just swam. You'll see as they're swimming here that the data below that in the secondary line there will update every single length. So that's giving you data every single length for each of these athletes. This is actually a selectable metric though. So if for Brent, we're actually really focusing on stroke count, just click on stroke count there, and then that will update every single length. Then maybe for Frank, we're really focusing on stroke rate. So you can select that. And then maybe for Jay, we're really trying to figure out his underwater issues. So you can start to add in all that level of information. And as they come into the wall, you can actually see their rep times updating there in real time throughout their training session. From here, you can also break it down to your different groups of swimmers. So if you've got your distance guys in one lane and you've got your sprinters in another lane, it can give you a quick overview of what each of your different groups are doing at a given time. Then we also have different views. Ultimately, if you've got 30 to 50 athletes in the water, we've got tighter grid views, and we also have more detailed views, which gives you a lot more information if you've only got a few athletes in the water. So a lot of customizability and a lot of flexibility depending on your specific needs. So then if you do want to dive into more information on Brent, though, you just click on his tile there, and it'll take you into his detailed swimmer view. So what you see on the far left side are the current sets that are built out so far. Pretty short because he's only done one set so far, but you can see it says 3x100 freestyle. So one of the nicest things about this program is that we actually automatically build out your sets for you based off of what they swim. So you don't have to pre-enter anything into this to have this happen. So we know exactly how far they swim with every repetition. So we know he keeps swimming 100, and we also know what stroke they're swimming. So we know that he's doing 100 freestyle every rep. So we can easily group those into the same set. We can also group them based off pace time because we know what pace time they're going. So this makes it really easy for you guys to just throw the units on and then get the data that you need. So if you write 8 100s free on the board, you'll get 8 100s free in the application. But the nice thing is you also get this red graph, which shows you the progression over the course of the set. So you can see the first rep, he went a 110.3. See the second rep, he went a 109.1. And then the third rep, he went a 110.3 again. Then you'll see also in that blue graph at the bottom that updates whenever I click on a repetition, which gives you the breakdown per length for that rep. So you can see on that 109.1, he started off at a 16.1, back at a 17.6, then back out at a 17.9, and then brought it home in a 17.3. So you can really get as high resolution data as you would like as they swim through the water. And actually you saw as he came into the wall there, he swam another 100 free, and then just added that into the same set for him. And then ultimately what you can see at the bottom here, whenever I click on on one of the lengths within that rep, you can see all the data below: stroke count, stroke rate, speed. You can see all that updating for each length. But you can actually take it a step further and say maybe with Brent specifically, we're really focusing on stroke rate. So you can click on stroke rate here, and that will actually give you the stroke rate over the course of the set. So now you can dive in and see, okay, maybe he's maintaining the pace that we agreed upon, but if it's a longer set and he's starting to really fall apart by the end of it, you can really see if he starts to spin his tires and ramp up his stroke rate just to try to get the same speed. So it helps you really flag those inefficiencies early. You can also do this for speed, distance per stroke, turn time, stroke index, every single metric you can do this for. So as you can see, it's very powerful. And naturally, you get this level of data and information for every single athlete in the pool at the same time. So you can have as much information as you need during practice, as well as after practice. So once the workout's over, all you do is click stop on the workout here, and that will automatically upload every athlete's workout data up to their profiles online. So I'll give you a view how that works as well. So as a coach, you just log in here as you would with an email profile or Facebook or anything like that. Click login, and then ultimately this will take you to your coach's dashboard. So what you see here is an overview of all your athletes on your team. Individual athletes have their own profiles as well, but they only get to see their own data for privacy reasons. But you can go in and we can click on our buddy Brent here, and this will give you the breakdown of his previous workout that he had just swam. I'll just zoom in here for you for a bit. And really this will give you just a quick glimpse at what he swam in a very similar way as you had just seen. But the other additional functionality here is you can actually save sets. So you can tag a set if it's something that's important to you, if it's a certain test set that you swim over time. Because as you can imagine, over the course of a season, you do build up quite a bank of workouts. This allows you to simply tag sets to find them in the future. Then to use that tagging functionality, you just go into our analytics tab. You grab your buddy Brent here again. And then what you see at the top are just some filtering tools to help you find workouts you're looking for in terms of the last period or in terms of the stroke type. But really the most efficient way is to do it based on tag. So we know that test set was something that we've used in the past with Brent. So when we search, now instead of seeing dozens of workouts, we only see 3 workouts. And you can see within these workouts, September, October, November, we tag the test set. So then when I click on September, you get your 8 100s free. You can see in the top graph showing the progression of the set. Same deal with the breakdown per length below and the data for that below that. But now you can also go to October and then overlay that in the same workout, in the same view rather. And then the same thing for November. So you can easily overlay every single time you run that test set to see if they're improving and if they're improving the way you want them to. So now this is good. You can see he's improving and getting faster, which is step 1, but you'd probably expect that from September to November. So now you can actually dive in and take it to the next step and say, now how is he improving? So if you click on stroke count, you can see he's actually maintaining, see 49 strokes for the whole 100, up to 51. So he's generally within a couple of strokes for his entire 100 over the course of these sets. So really you can see he's getting substantially faster while maintaining a pretty similar stroke count. So he is getting more efficient over time. And that's obviously just one example of how you can utilize this with your different athletes. So that gives you a bit of a quick overview. Obviously we've got more information we can share with you on the actual demo at our booth. But now, I'd like to just share a bit more about how this has been working well for us. We do have our technology around the world with athletes of all levels. It's been exciting to see the progression over time. Now we've got athletes ranging from about 8 years old, pretty beginner athletes, all the way up to Olympians. So it's pretty exciting to see that depth of our technology as we have different offerings for different levels of athletes. We also have some pretty amazing customer success stories coming back to us. Actually in Norway, we had a team that had an athlete break a junior national record, and he associated a lot of the help from that to our technology and having access to the data that he didn't have before, where they were able to make genuine changes to her stroke based on the data that they didn't have access to before. Other coaches are saying they saw 70% more personal bests on their athletes with our platform compared to athletes not on our platform. And other coaches are saying they can spend 40% more time actually focusing on their athletes and working on stroke mechanics now that they don't have to rely on their stopwatch so much every day in practice. And then across the board, we've really seen athletes more engaged in their daily training now that they can really visualize their progress over the course of the season, which is another really important piece, obviously, in the sport. Next, I want to just share with you a little bit about how we do this and some of the exciting stuff that we're working on right now. So at Tritonwear, one of the core functionalities that we work on is providing accurate data. We know that you as coaches and athletes will not use the data if you can't trust that it's accurate and reliable. So this has always been one of our core fundamentals and something that we work tirelessly on. So ultimately, we validate this data based off of tens of thousands of fully real data points so that we can ultimately guarantee accuracy within specific parameters. The nice part of having accurate data is that it also builds out an accurate database. So now we've actually built out the largest accurate swimming database in the world. And now on top of that, we've built artificial intelligence and machine learning models so that we can actually create new features that have never existed in the sport and provide new tools for you as coaches that have never existed in the sport. So an example of this, to get a bit more on the tech side, is some correlations on some of these models that we've done. So what you're seeing in this graph here is distance per stroke compared to stroke rate compared to speed. So we know there's a correlation here based off of the sport, and I know this is a common thing, but you can actually see this across hundreds of thousands of data points here. And ultimately, we can show that clear correlation that we've seen in real data in training. So you can see this correlation as there's this nice plane that's been built out. As you can see, as your distance per stroke and your stroke rate increase, so does your speed. So the nice thing is we've been able to build out clear correlations and models for every single metric that we have against each other. And the nice piece that we've been able to figure out is that this actually accounts for 98.4% of an athlete's speed, are all these metrics that we account for within our data. So that's good, but the nice thing is now we can also show you how to use this data. So from this, we can take that, if we're trying to get faster, we want to take the path of least resistance, right? We want to get to faster speeds as quickly as possible, and the most efficient path is ultimately going straight up that gradient that you can see on this graph here. So say we're starting off at the bottom white circle there, and we're trying to increase our speed by ramping up stroke rate. You'll see maybe you'll go up to that second white dot there, but it came at a cost of distance per stroke, right? So then based off of our database, we know that a lot of athletes in the same demographic, so same age, gender, height, are able to get to that same speed, but in a much more efficient way with a lower stroke rate, with less input. So we can actually provide weakness analysis for each of your athletes to help really pinpoint where their largest weaknesses lie and really what's holding them back the most. So we do this for every single metric so we can actually showcase to you guys and your athletes what's really holding them back the most at different speeds in their stroke. Naturally, this is a bit too convoluted probably to show to an athlete, so we actually abstract this a layer up to provide an overall stroke score for an athlete during each workout that they swim. So we take that modeling analysis to give them actually an overall technique score that's based off of their efficiency and inefficiency. Then we also combine that with the volume of the training that they've done, as well as the intensity of the training that they've done. By combining those, we can give them an overall stroke score each day. And by tracking that over time, that really helps you to flag any issues without having to dive deep into the data. So that's one of the important things that we're working on now, and that helps you get insight with minimal work. We also take it a step higher than that to provide overall workout scores based off of all 4 stroke scores to allow you to dive in without having to spend a lot of time on the data, because we're trying to really minimize that for you. So to summarize, this all starts with accurate data, which has allowed us to build out these models to build features that were previously impossible. And that started with advanced insights and is now moving on to even helping you iterate on your training program based off of your historical data of your team, based on the weaknesses that you've been able to see with your athletes, and even scouting platforms for federations to help flag those gems out there and help nurture them to the top levels. So really that value to you guys starts at the group level, where we provide feedback to an individual coach, up to the team level, as we discussed, where you can actually give feedback to a head coach, where they can help better manage all of the athletes on a team and all the groups, but now even into a national level, where federations can better support the teams in their country, as well as to also help feed athletes to the top program, to the top levels as quickly as possible, to ultimately, ideally maximize the number of international medals that you guys can achieve, which we know is frequently correlated to the amount of budget that you get associated to the teams. So at Tritonwear, we know that the future of sport is data-driven. And ultimately, at Tritonwear, we're the only company that can help you solve these problems today. And we want to help you take your swimmers to new levels by utilizing the power of data. Thank you.
Thanks, Tristan. We might have opened the floor to a couple of questions. Just a couple of quick ones.
I would just like to ask the life expectancy of these batteries that you use first, and the price maybe.
For sure. So in terms of the life expectancy, so they're extremely durable. These devices, we know athletes are going to drop them on the deck all the time, and it does happen quite a bit. So the battery life of these general batteries is many years, so that's not the major concern. Ultimately, it's more likely that we'll iterate, come out with a new device that you'd want to buy, kind of like how you buy a new GoPro or a new cell phone over time, but that's usually how that works. Our pricing, it really depends on the size of the team. So ultimately, the way it works, the more athletes you get on the system, the more we can discount pricing and things like that. So the way it works is each unit can be used on multiple athletes, but each athlete has to have a profile to use the system, which has a monthly fee, which ranges from $5 to $25 per month, depending on the level of the athlete. So ultimately, that's the way that works. And usually the cost in club teams anyways gets pushed off to the team, to the parent or the athlete, to help spread out that cost to try to minimize the investment for the team. Okay, no problem.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.